Okay, guys, we're gonna be reacting to why doesn't SpongeBob feel like it's underwater anymore.
Pineapple under the sea. Well, lately, it feels like nobody. That the once vibrant underwater setting of SpongeBob has been replaced with a flat, generic blue background that doesn't even look like the ocean anymore. To new viewers, the show might as well take place on land. In this video, we're breaking down the 4 biggest reasons SpongeBob has stopped feeling like it's underwater. And more importantly, later in this video, we're going to talk about what the creators could do to fix it. Big thanks to Awe for inspiring this video. Now, the first reason that SpongeBob doesn't feel like it takes place underwater anymore has to be its change in color saturation. If you compare the newest season of SpongeBob all the way back to season 1, you can see that it has a less warm and darker shade, which helps give it the feeling of being underwater, as the brighter season 15 background is more similar to a sunny sky. However, this lower saturation was probably not done as an artistic choice, but more due to the limitations of animation technology at the time. For example, another show which started airing around the same time as the first season of SpongeBob was Family Guy. And if you look at its first season and compare it to the current seasons, the newer seasons are way more saturated, and the SpongeBob animators were probably just following the trend, not realizing how much the desaturated look benefited the underwater aesthetic. Another thing the earlier seasons did better is the scenery and setting the stage for the world of the show. You might have noticed that there are a lot more wide and expansive shots of Bikini Bottom back in the day. This is an intentional decision made by the artist to show the scale of the world, which mirrors how massive the actual ocean is. So these shots make SpongeBob feel like it's in its own unique setting. But another thing that helped the world building and complemented the scenery was the frequent use of the French narrator.
Ah, the sea, so fascinating, so wonderful. Here we see Bikini Bottom, teeming with life. Goo Lagoon, a stinky mud puddle to you and me, but to the inhabitants of Bikini Bottom, a wonderful.
It has the water underwater.
The French narrator always made the world feel alive, as he guided us along Bikini Bottom. With a lack of narration in the show, SpongeBob nowadays feels like it's trying to be more of a typical cartoon and just get to the point faster, which definitely contributed to it losing some of the old charm it once had. But another reason why the older seasons had more of an underwater vibe is because of the characters based on different sea creatures that they introduce. In the first 2 seasons, we are introduced to a whole cast based on creatures, like crabs, starfish, whales, and pufferfish, cementing in the viewers' minds that we are underwater. But something which seasons can't do past season 2 is introduce long-lasting characters, which very much goes against the nature of the ocean, which has hundreds of different creatures inhabiting it. Although, if they were to introduce more new characters in the show, it could get overstuffed. So there's a bit of conflict of interests there. But for now, let's move away from the visual-based points and look at the music. The music of SpongeBob is perfect, capturing both the chill and laid-back vibe of the underwater aesthetic, making it feel like you're drifting across water. However, similar to the point of new characters, there isn't much new music in newer SpongeBob, just reused music from earlier seasons, which makes it seem tired and sucks those initial feelings we had. However, unlike the previous point on how adding new characters may make the show feel overstuffed, I believe adding new music would unanimously benefit the show and the underwater aesthetic. Now that we've covered the 4 major problems in modern SpongeBob, before we dive into how to properly fix the aesthetics in modern SpongeBob, we first have to look at when exactly did the show stop feeling like it was underwater. I believe the answer is shockingly season 4. Yeah, I know it's the generic answer everyone gives to these kind of "why did SpongeBob fall off" type questions, but this is true. Steven Hillenburg, the creator of the show, left after season 3. He left an amazing mark on SpongeBob, not only as a talented creative, but also as a marine biologist, injecting his knowledge on the underwater into the show. It's very apparent to the entire fan base that when he left, left, not only did the quality of the show fall off, but also did the marine feel, as he applied so much of his knowledge to these episodes, and now that's gone. Well, although we've been talking down on the later seasons of SpongeBob, making it seem like there is no hope, there has actually, very recently, been an episode that brings us back to that long-awaited feel. That episode is A Fish Called Sandy. This episode not only reignited the underwater
Sandy turned into a fish? Is that what happens?
experience, but also is viewed as a comeback episode for SpongeBob in general after years of mediocrity. The episode revolves around Sandy getting gills and experiencing Bikini Bottom as an actual fish. The creators do a good job of putting us in Sandy's perspective, almost like we're experiencing it for ourselves. Even small things like the seagrass, which is usually just in the background, is given so much attention, and this detail very much helps the underwater aesthetic. But most importantly, the episode just looks beautiful. This is the best and most underwater themed SpongeBob episode that we've gotten in years. Not only that, but the darker, inky colors give not only the nostalgic kick of the older seasons, but also reintroduces the undersea vibe that the older seasons had. This is actually because the supervising director, Ian Vanquez, intentionally tried to replicate the classic style. This was revealed by the showrunner Vincent Waller when he was asked on Blue Sky. Question: is the classic aesthetic in A Fish Called Sandy intended to be a one-time thing, or is it going to be the status quo for the series going forward? No. It was Ian Vanquez flexing his artistic chops, and a tip of the hat to the original designers. It will not be status quo, since it was Steve who instigated the changes away from the original designs, but you will see the original designs popping up from time to time. Although the plot is nothing special, just being a fish out of water story, or in this case, a fish in water story, the simplicity of the episode allows us to take in all of the amazing scenery of the episode, making it more like a breathtaking ocean experience, rather than just your regular chaotic SpongeBob episode. So, what can the SpongeBob creators learn from this episode to help bring back the classic underwater vibe? Firstly, colors. Make them darker. It's the most notable and easiest change the creators could do in order to combat the oversaturated, generic sky-like setting of the newer seasons, and actually make it feel underwater. The second main thing the show can do is explore more of the sea and pay attention to detail. Instead of visiting some crazy unnatural buildings, they could use some of the many beautiful natural environments that are in the ocean. This helps not only with the underwater vibes, but also helps ground the plot, killing two birds with one stone. They should also pay more attention to the environment instead of glossing over lots of small details that helped flesh out the world. This is what A Fish Called Sandy did best, and replicating this would definitely benefit them if they go forward with it. Another thing they should do is make more simple, ocean-based plots instead of going super crazy with different gadgets and crazy shenanigans. This is the biggest thing that the creators can do. Not only can it bring back the underwater feel, but it can also appease the fans who have been saying the show has been going downhill. Making the plots more simple will force the showrunners into using the environments as characters they already have, focusing the plotlines back down to the ocean instead of the random stuff that usually happens. But what is the point in trying to fix this? Why should the showrunners focus on this seemingly meaningless detail instead of focusing on making their show better? Well, on the surface, it may seem like the underwater vibe isn't important, but something which stood out to me when making this video is how, when the show started falling off, so did the underwater feeling. I don't believe this is any coincidence. I think a lot of the reasons that modern SpongeBob doesn't work quality-wise is also the reason why the underwater vibe is gone. Therefore, the creators should care about the setting and want to change it. So those are all the reasons why SpongeBob doesn't feel like it's underwater anymore, and how I think we can fix it.
Damn. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be the end of the video. Bye, guys.